Just over a week ago, I bought this 1986 Pontiac Fiero for $750 to compete in a cheap car challenge. In the last episode, I attempted to fix whatever is causing the engine to run absolutely terribly and totally failed. Today, we're picking up where we left off, trying to get this 40-year-old mid-engine beast to put down all 140 horsepower again, and maybe we'll add a little on top of that. Got a nitrous kit. All right, I got this thing up on the lift, and oh my God, this thing is the greasiest car I've ever seen. That's not a great look. It looks like we're leaking every fluid imaginable in huge quantities. Other than that, this actually looks pretty good. Exhaust is a little bit hacky, but that's okay. I'm gonna hack it up even more. So the first thing I wanna check on today, I guess on my list, there we go, is oh, I didn't write it down. The catalytic converter. I've had this problem before, same symptoms, just completely bogs down, no power. And it ended up being a clogged catalytic converter. And one thing I couldn't help noticing is that this car seems to have a muffler delete. I assume that's where the muffler would live, is somewhere right there. So it should be way, way louder than it is. And it's actually kind of quiet when it's sort of running half-assed, whatever. So I'm thinking this might be the cause. Maybe there's something blocked up in here. I'm just gonna chop it off and then we'll see if that fixes the problem. All right, well, there definitely seems to be a chunk broken off. I don't know if this broke off when I was shaking it with the saw, or if it broke off before, but I think that we might have a chance of this being the problem. I don't know if you can see that thing. It's like, yeah, well, anyway, it's broken off, but it's definitely plugging it now, so let's fire this thing up and see if it runs any better. All right, well, unfortunately that was not the problem. It still runs like dookie, so I guess we'll continue on the troubleshooting. I got some things here I think might help, which I got actually pretty cheap on Rock Auto. Got a distributor cap, we got a rotor, got some new spark plug wires, and some new spark plugs. So let's throw these guys on there and see what happens. All right, well, that is not ideal. Crazy bent rotor little thing here, so I'm surprised actually it was running at all. That's good. Maybe this thing will run better. We'll see here in just a second. Let's fire this thing up. Okay, that was a huge, huge difference. That is awesome. I think that might be fixed, actually. I don't know why I'm focusing on the exhaust pipe here, but yeah, that was the first time I've seen this thing rev freely and not bogged down, so that's awesome. There's definitely a lot of vacuum leaks, and this thing is obviously insanely loud. So I think what I'm gonna do now is reinstall this guy without the blockage. And don't worry, this is for off-road use only in Mexico. Off-road use in Mexico, so we'll get this thing hooked up so it's a little less crazy, and then we'll take this thing on a test drive. All right, before I get this exhaust hooked back up here, I think I'm gonna go ahead and do a little more weight savings and get rid of this air conditioner pump thing, whatever. I'm surprised to see this thing in here, actually. And I can actually pull out the air conditioner lines, which I think are all of these guys right here. I think 2 of them, definitely this side right here, are the heater lines. I'm gonna get rid of those because this is a potential leak point for sure when I'm taking a jump off-road and I don't want these to get punctured. So I can just do a little heat loop, heater hose loop up here, like a very short one, and get rid of a little bit more weight too, I suppose. We'll get rid of all this junk right here and it'll be good. All right, I pulled this guy off of here because I am going to add a wideband to this thing. Basically an air fuel gauge. There you go, wideband O2 sensor. I have a good reason for adding this wideband that I'll show you here soon. Very loud in here, so I have no idea if you're going to be able to hear me, but we're going on a test drive. See if this thing works, and this will be the very first time that I see if the transmission shifts into all gears. Oh, so far so good. Okay, it's obviously a lot better. Before, if I even like touched the gas pedal, it would just bog down, so we definitely fixed something. If this transmission does work and shift into all three gears, all 3 of them, then I can sell that other transmission and maybe get some more money to put into the project. All right, here we go. I'm gonna give it some beans. Okay, seems good. Oh my God, the suspension does not seem good. There's 3rd gear. Okay, it goes into all 3 gears. We're good. All right, yeah, it's got some pep too. It's extremely loud in here though. I don't know about this straight pipe situation. I might have to rethink that. I think it's safe to say it's officially fixed. Whatever issue I was, whoa, it's stumbling. Oh shoot. Yeah, I feel like we can call this thing fixed. Whatever, at least whatever problem was going on before is definitely not going on anymore. All right, I'm gonna hammer it and see what happens. All right, it's got some power. Definitely needs to be improved, but it's got something. And you know, the turning is actually like not terrible. It's definitely, it doesn't feel like there's anything like seriously wrong, like nothing broken or anything. That's very good too, because I have no money to spend on any other repairs. All right, this is very, very good news. I am so happy that I've now fixed the car, and now I know that I do have a good engine. I wasn't actually sure. Like, I figured I could fix it, but now I know for sure that we're gonna be good. We'll be ready for this competition. All right, so let me explain a little bit more about why I chose the Fiero as my car of choice for this competition. And let me explain a little bit more about the competition itself. All right, so I'm racing the guys from Just Another Car Show. And I don't know what kind of car they're bringing, and I actually won't know what kind of car they're bringing until race day. However, we did make one agreement, and that was that whoever buys their car first has to give the other guy a couple hints to make sure that we don't accidentally buy the same car. Because great minds think alike. Actually, great car hacks think alike. So they actually bought their car first, and the clues they gave me were big, horsepower, heavy, German car. How big of horsepower? I have no idea. It actually worries me a little bit. But heavy, this is the key here. And this is kind of what I based my car choice on. That brings me to the Fiero. All right, the Fiero is a few things. Very light. Rear wheel drive. Rear engine. Small horsepower. So we're gonna do 4 races. The first one, drag race. This is on pavement, and this is gonna be something like, maybe like an 1/8 mile or like 1,000 foot. Second one, track race, which is along a road course. Lots of turns, kind of looks like a blob, but that's a racetrack. We're gonna go around the racetrack on pavement. The third one, rally race. I don't know how to draw that, so I'm just gonna draw a dust cloud, because that is gonna be off-road. The last one, top speed challenge. Like the drag race, but very long, and also off-road. So I'm gonna put a little dust on this guy as well. Here you go. Kind of look like bushes, actually. A little bit like a Bob Ross painting. This one's gonna be on some sort of like dry lake bed or salt flat type of thing. And this one's gonna be maybe like a mile-long race. So I'm thinking the Fiero is actually gonna have a lot of strengths considering these 4 races. The rally race. I think I got this one in the bag. And my theory is, because this thing is a rear engine, rear wheel drive car, that means I have a lot of weight over the rear tires and practically no weight over the front tires. So it's gonna let me glide over the bumps, and the rear engine weight is gonna keep my rear wheels planted and give me good traction. And the lightweight, of course, is gonna mean that I slide over obstacles without getting stuck. That's my theory. Track racing. This one I'm less sure about, but I'm gonna put a star next to it. I'll put a little question mark. You know what? No, I'll put a star next to that because I think lightness is gonna be key here. Fiero's such a small car. It's gonna zip around the corners, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna kick the heavy car's butt. You know what? I should have done red stars. Red for Fiero, blue for Just Another Car Show. I've kind of made peace with the fact that I'm not gonna win the top speed challenge. I'm pretty sure that big, heavy German cars are meant for top speed. That's the thing they do best. And I think this is going to be a horsepower game. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to get my doors blown off on the dry lake bed. And that brings us to the drag race. The 1/8 mile drag race isn't necessarily going to be a horsepower game. There's a little more technical things to it. I'm worried I don't have enough power, but I do have the engine over the rear tires. So that's going to get me a pretty good launch on pavement. I'm going to put a star and a question mark, because I think that if I can add some power, a lot of power, to the Fiero, then I can win the drag race. Hey, buddy. All right, man. $200. Oh wait, oh, that's $100. Hold on, hold on. It's 100. Sorry. Here's the other 100. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
Got a nitrous kit.
Are these come 6-speed or 5-speed, or is there both?
5-speed, only 5-speed.
Only 5-speed, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, she's back in the garage. I got a little something to kick it up a notch. I got myself a cheap used nitrous oxide kit. I've actually never used nitrous oxide before. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I did some research online and people say that the Fiero engine is maybe good for like around 75 or 100 shot of nitrous, so that's exactly what I'm gonna do. The guy gave me pretty much everything I need. I had to buy like a couple little pieces here and there, and I had to choose my jet sizes, and I have a couple of options. I have my safe jets, and then I have my emergency jets in case I'm getting completely blown out of the water. So I'm stoked. I'm a little bit scared. Let's start getting this thing installed. All right, first thing we gotta do here is get the solenoid, which is this guy right here. Get this thing hooked up, start thinking about where the bottle's gonna go, fuel line, and then I need to run some wires into the passenger area for my switches. All right, so I'm kind of thinking somewhere in this general area is the best placement for this solenoid. So this is what's called a wet nitrous kit, meaning that it has ports for both fuel and nitrous. When you add nitrous, you also have to add fuel, and I don't have a fancy way to add like bigger injectors or anything like that. So this is gonna spray nitrous and gasoline directly into the intake manifold, which means that I have to tap my fuel line. And I could actually do that right over here at the fuel check port. So this thing is gonna plug in right about here, and that's my shortest cable. So I'm thinking if I put this guy like right about here, which should give me perfect amount of hose length to install the nitrous jet, which I think is gonna go somewhere in this intake manifold right here. Okay. All right, so next thing we gotta do here is the wiring. And we got a relay, which I think is gonna go right here. We got a ground wire, and we got some sketchy old crimped connections hanging on for dear life. There we go. All right, we're grounded. Nice. All right, got the wires all set up over here and pretty much done on this side. And then we got this one red wire right there, that guy, going all the way up through the firewall, coming out through this guy, all the way through the console and popping out right there, which is where I'm gonna put my toggle switch. I think the next thing I wanna do is mount my little button here, my little nitrous button. So I have the biggest drill bit that I have, and I'm gonna mount it right there in the steering wheel, I think. Woo, Jesus. That's awesome. Okay, I think I got all this hooked up here. Let's give it a try. Haha, yeah. All right, there we go. Got air fuel. Yes, that's awesome. All right, got this console back together. Looks awesome. I'm super stoked. The license plate idea kind of turned out a little dumpier than I thought it would, but I guess it's kind of cool. And it was free, so that's really what's important here. I love how that gauge like fires up. That's so cool. And this guy. And actually, when you click this, I don't know if you can hear it, but I can hear the relay clicking in the back. So we're all wired up and we're good. I just need to plug the nitrous purge solenoid into 12 volts. Then that actually should be all set. This looks awesome. All right, so I've got the engine running now. The next thing I want to do is make it run better. It still does not run very good, and I can hear some pretty bad air hissing noises, so I really think that there's probably some serious vacuum leaks on this guy. And I'm going to use this little thing that I've never used before, this guy right here. The little smoke machine device, which hooks up to an air compressor, hooks up to my battery. It's got a little thing that toasts some oil in there, and it's going to generate smoke, and my air compressor is going to push it through. So I got it hooked up to the intake manifold right here, and we'll see what happens. All right, well, it's looking like we got a pretty good smoke situation coming from this EGR valve right here. I think that solution is simple. I'm just going to delete that thing. We also got some smoking down here. I don't know what that is yet, but there's a pretty good leak coming from down there. So that's good. We're finding stuff. Let me start fixing these things. I'm going to make a block off plate for this guy. I'll see if I can figure out where that smoke's coming from. And then, yeah, then we'll start plugging the stuff back up. All right, I just went ahead and took off the entire intake manifold plenum right there. So that gave me access to all this stuff under here. And it looks like by looking at this loop here, the evap system, which has to do with this guy right here, has already been deleted. So I guess I can pull that stuff out of here and really simplify this vacuum system. We also have a couple of water tubes right there, or coolant tubes, which go into the intake manifold. I think that's probably one of those things that is meant to heat up the intake manifold on freezing cold days or whatever. So I'm going to also delete that and eliminate just one more failure point. But the one place that I did see smoke come out of was this guy right there, this tube right here. In fact, that's just crazy loose in there, which I'm pretty sure has to do with the idle air control valve, which would make sense because I'm having kind of idle problems, so I think that might actually be the answer. We'll clamp that down, I guess double check all of the rest of the vacuum, and hopefully this thing will run a little bit better. All right, we're in a good spot with the vacuum, I think. We got our EGR blocked off down here. Got the block off plate on this guy too. I did put a new hose on this idle air control valve little port thing. So I think we can put this guy back on. Although I had to order those intake manifold gaskets because apparently there aren't enough people working on 80s Fieros to keep those guys in stock. So it's going to take about a day to get in the mail. In the meantime, though, I think I want to finish my nitrous setup. And I got a plan for where I'm going to hook up my nozzle whatever fogger this little guy right here. So this thing is what sprays the fuel and the nitrous into your intake manifold. One line is for fuel, one line is for the nitrous. And this guy's got to plug in to this intake tube somewhere. I think I'm gonna go right at about 6 inches. I'm thinking if I put it right at or before that elbow. Yeah, there you go. Basically right where this bend happens right here is where I want to put it. I don't think I'm going to really be able to put it top down because I might interfere with this hood hinge right here. So I'm going to put it at a little bit of an angle. I hope that's okay. Maybe somebody in the comments will know, but I'm sure there's like an absolute ideal position, but I'm thinking if it's just aimed at the intake manifold, it's going to work. So what I got to do is drill a hole in this guy somewhere, I don't know, around there. And then I chose to get a weld-in bung for this guy because it was like $5 cheaper, and I'm gonna have to weld this thing, which will be a little bit of a trick because I'm not really a good aluminum welder, but I do have a spool gun. So we're gonna MIG aluminum weld this guy on there, and then we'll have our nitrous kit installed, I think. This is awesome. I'm stoked. This is so cool. And a little bit nervous. All right, so I got this thing welded. Not proud of those welds. In fact, they look terrible, but I was burning through like crazy, so that was kind of all I could do. It will function though, so I don't care. And positioning is pretty good. There we go. It's gonna be something like that. Then we got these two bad boys ran right there. All right, here I am in Mexico. Oh, I'm so nervous. Okay, I'm gonna put the phone down.